Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is the Entwicklung 100, the E100, the Tier 10 German heavy tank. It's located on the north spawn of Malinovka, and this one is under the command of Konopnik. He's been rather busy recently. He's sent me some great replays, and this I think is going to be one of them. Game on! Well, as you know, the Entwicklung series were a series of tanks designed to be easy to make, not to be superior, but just to be easier to construct, and also to be better than the Allied tanks. This one was supposed to be a 100-ton tank. It actually ended up being a bit heavier than that, 150 tons in total, and it was actually supposed to be the alternative to the Porsche Super Heavy, which was the Maus. Now, eventually, because they did actually start work on it and they were building a prototype, eventually they actually stopped building, or rather Hitler ordered that the E100 was stopped production and that he wanted to go ahead with the Maus instead. And they did build two Maus, and in different states of manufacture. Both were actually operational at the end of the war, but only one of them actually did fight against the Soviets when it actually finally they found it. The E100, even though they cancelled the project, they continued building it at the Alderwerk company, and 3 employees actually completed the hull of this vehicle, and it was found at Paderborn. And eventually it was taken to the UK for testing, and well, after that we just don't know what happened to it, because apparently some people said it went out on a range and was used as a range vehicle, as a target, and others said that it was just scrap for the metal. And so as the price of the metal actually fell out of the market, or fell out the bottom of the market, instead of actually being sold or used as scrap metal, it was buried. So it might still be in intact condition. Well, you're going to block your Emil. Oh, great first shot. Hit the Bisonte and got 744. It's a 128mm gun, capable of 530 alpha, and with the standard rounds it'll go through 246mm of armor. With the heat rounds it will go through 334, and with the HE rounds instead it'll actually do 950 alpha and 85mm of pen. So there might actually be an E100 somewhere in the UK buried in the ground, as far as we know. Now, it didn't have a turret. The turret you're seeing on this vehicle is Wargaming's idea of what it might have actually had. But in truth, they suggested that the real turret that it would have had would have been the same turret as that on the Maus, a rounded turret, not the flat-sided one that we see. Oh, he just got the top of that T-55A, did 827 hit points of damage to him. So that's a high roll. Okay, he's moving forward to get another shot in. Very accurate shooting. Oh, and he's up against another E100 here. Flat parts. Yes, gets it. 771 from that one. He's certainly doing a lot of damage, even though it's 750 alpha. He's still getting high rolls. Go for it again. Flat surface. Yep, gets it. Gets another high roll for 849. He's there accumulating damage, already over 3,000. Look at all the holes in the flat surface. Go for it again. Yep. And another high roll for 774 this time. The guy in that E100 down there, well, he's going to feel a bit disappointed when he's out the game without doing any damage. We're about to shoot and take out his lower plate, and there you go, he's out the game. Now, it's got 270mm of armor on the turret, 200 on the lower, on the front of the hull, It's more of a speculative shot, that one. And he's now starting to take damage from the enemy tanks that are in cover. It's a Centurion. Wait for the reload. It's rather long. 11.51 normally. Fires it straight down the line where the Centurion was seen. And he is receiving hits from the Centurion, but the guy's firing HEs. And this Judas, he's firing standard rounds. And they're starting to hit us hard. And the Judas is destroyed with a shot for 584. Now it does have very strong armor, strong skirts. Also has a lot of hit points, 2,700. Oh, lovely shot on the Centurion. That was a biggie as well. Managed to get 811 off that one, which is a high roll again. Okay, he's decided to bypass, go around the other side of the rock. The fox, is trying to run away, but he takes a round for 685, which is a low roll for a change. Oh, and that leopard prototype, you picked the wrong moment to try and back up round the corner of the rock. That was just as Konopnik was coming forward. Fires one in where he last saw the T-55, or was it the T-55? Well, we don't know if he hit him or not. But the next shot's going to be on the Bisonte he hit before, or the ISU. ISU. And, oh, another big hit, 768. And he's bouncing rounds from just about everybody. Now, he's going to take the Wizzy 120. That was the tank he fired at earlier. And he's one shot now. Yes, he got him. Bisonte managed to get a pen, though. He used heat round to get through. I suspect he actually fired at the lower plate. Okay, get that gun to come down. No, that one missed. He's got only 7 degrees of gun depression. That's why he's having difficulty trying to get the gun down on the Bisonte. You can do it. That's it. Blocked another shot. Hard armor at the top. Progetto takes a hit. 688 though. Low roll. And I think the Bisonte, well, he's still in it. He wants to attack our teammate in the prototype. Go for it. Yep, got him. So that's his 4th kill. He's well on the way to getting a top gun. There's only 5 enemies left. Which one's he going to go for? Go for the Progetto. He's a one-shot. Oh, he got him. 5 kills. And now it's a race to get to the last 3 enemy tanks. The thing is that this thing's not very fast. 30 kilometers an hour maximum speed, but he's actually doing 40 downhill. He's firing wildly at the enemy direction. He's loading it's a heat round? It is a heat round, yes. Those are fairly expensive, so he doesn't want to blow them wildly, but he's looking for the enemies. There they are. Come for the top gun. Oh, he misses it, but he goes for the next one. Sharp future, and he gets him. And that's a top gun. I thought he was only here for the beer, but no, he wanted 6 tanks. Well, there's only 1 enemy left. It's a Char Future 4, and everybody seems to be heading in that direction. I think he's almost given up. Come on, one shot. Oh, just over the top of him. It looks like his teammates are going to take the kill, and that's it. That's the end of the game. Nicely done. Here's the end of battle stats, and after that absolutely epic battle, we can see that Konopnik managed to get an ace tanker, but not just any old ace tanker. It's the ace tanker and his 3rd mark of excellence for the E100. He also managed to get a shell proof for blocking more damage than the hit points of his own vehicle, a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him, a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points of his own vehicle, and he also got a hand of God for surviving the battle, having received damage from at least 4 different enemies or more. He also got a cool headed for surviving 10 or more ricochets on non-penetrating shots, a high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game, a top gun for getting at least 6 kills, and he got a steel wall as well for blocking the most damage in the game, at least 11 hits and surviving the battle. His win rate from that one, 18,060. So much more than Super Unicum. That was a really epic game. Let's have a look at team score. Well, he's right at the top of the table with 10,368 hit points of damage. It was one hell of a game. And yeah, it was really, really good. The second highest damage, sorry, I didn't mention that first. The Progetto 65, he killed that one, 3,296. And the third highest damage was the T110E3. He didn't see that guy. 3,075 hit points went to him. When it came to kills, yeah, he got the highest with 6 kills. 3 kills went to the T110E3 on his own team, and 2 kills went to the Progetto 46. The tanks on the enemy team only got 1 kill if they did get a kill, and only 5 of them actually did manage to get a kill in that game. When it came to base XP, it's Gnopnik with 1,398 to him. 1,175 went to the Progetto 46, and they were the only 2 players who managed to get over 1,000, with the Leopard prototype getting 834. And yes, he did survive the battle, even though he had that moment where he tried to back up and he actually drove straight back into Gnopnik and he couldn't get around the corner. But luckily, the enemy team didn't shoot him at that particular moment. If we look at details, we can see that he fired 22 shots in that game, got 18 direct hits on the enemy and 16 penetrations. Damage of 10,368 hit points, of which 2,758 were up more than 300 meters. Most of those were the shots he was firing at long range from way up on top of the hill at enemy tanks that were right down by the lakeside or a bit further away. He received 36 hits from the enemy, but only 6 of them actually managed to penetrate. The opposite number, E100, didn't really know how to use his tank. And although you shouldn't really call out people who really don't know, but yeah, this guy didn't get any damage in his E100 at all. He just got torn to pieces by Gnopnik. But hopefully, if he sees this replay, he'll know how to handle this tank and how he can actually get damage. Maybe he'll actually use that as an inspiration to make sure that he can get that sort of damage in the future himself. Well, they received 36 hits, 6 penetrations, 26 non-penetrations, and 4 hits by way of splash damage because, well, most of the enemy tanks gave up trying to fire armor piercing at him and started firing HE as the only alternative, and that's the answer for most players. If you can't fire an armor piercing round or even a premium round to get through the armor, then you start firing HE and do damage that way. But it's not a very effective way of winning a game. He blocked damage of 6,950 hit points. That's the sort of damage most players would do to actually other tanks in a game, not block that much damage and do 10,000 damage. 1 enemy vehicle was spotted, 10 enemy vehicles were damaged, 6 were killed, and he did 630 hit points with spotting assist. Actually, I think that was 2 base capture points, so he actually was in the cap at the end of the game. He earned 127,538 credits for the battle, 63,769 from holiday ops, a grand total of 191,307 credits altogether, and after repair, ammunition, resupply and consumables, and yes, it was a lot of premium ammo, he actually ended up with a profit of 32,793 credits. Well, yes, but it did make mincemeat of the enemy, where he actually fired to get, even though it cost him 127 credits, 127,000 credits, which is more than basically, or no more, slightly less than he actually earned from the battle. But if you want to go through the enemy like a knife through hot butter, or hot knife through butter, then that's the only way to do it, to use premium ammo in that way. He earned 25 bombs and 7 because this was a tier 10 game, 32 in total. 2,097 XP, 4,194 from holiday ops, and 6,291 experience points altogether. So I guess, yes, we'll have another quick look at the E100 again. This is the armor profile for it. You can see very heavily armored around the front, but it's very flat. Even though it's a slight angle, but it's very flat. And if you've got the penetration, you can get through it. Well, you can see here that the impacted armor is 27 centimeters, giving an effective armor with the angle of 286. But remember, the penetration on those premium rounds was something like 332, I think. So, of course, he was just going to go straight through if the guy was going to give him the front of the turret. Of course, if he'd actually managed to get someone who was willing to actually turn their turret to avoid the pen, you can see the penetration will actually go up. So, actually, not that much, around about, I can get it to go there. That's it. Stop there. It doesn't want to. There it does. It works now. You can see that the effective armor actually goes up if you can turn your turret away from the enemy who's firing at you. But you then leave a weak side there at the side of the turret instead. So it is actually a matter of working out what angle will be effective. That's not going to be effective. He still will be able to penetrate that, but it's less easy to penetrate the side this way. So it's a matter of turning the turret just slightly to one side to give it a better angle, and of course hiding all of your lower plates and upper plate, because even with the upper plate there being 200 millimeters angled back quite acutely, very acutely there, you're still getting an effective armor of about 316. And I think, yes, he can go through that, but the lower plate's much easier to pen. 15 centimeters of armor and about 263. So, yes, you can get through the lower plate, but it's difficult to see that. And remember, only 7 degrees of gun depression. If they're over a ridge line, it's going to be difficult to get your gun down enough to actually get it through. Now, Konopnik was actually getting the lower plate of the E100, but he was actually aiming for the flat plate because the guy was actually pointing his gun directly at Konopnik, and that just made it all the much easier for him to get the penetration. That's why he was going for the flat spots. So let's have a look at the live. As you can see, it's very, very strong armor with the armor piercing. Now watch what happens when I change that to the heat round. Yes, you can pen it. The upper plate would have been a bit difficult, but the lower plate, he could pen that as well. So you can see how just changing the ammunition actually does make it work. And if I angle that again, just to show you what actually happens, you can see there, with that angle, the other E100 would have survived. But he'd have to turn his turret every time he needed to fire, and Konopnik would probably have to have done the same if he had heat rounds. So that's how the E100s can fight it out against each other. Let's have a look at the modules. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's see this up full. That's better, much better. Okay. Well, you can see driver on the right-hand side with the gunner's mate on the left-hand side. Transmission in front of them. Fuel tanks are in the floor. We can see that the gunner is on the right-hand side. The tank commander is on the left-hand side of the vehicle. And there's 2 loaders at the behind the breech and 2 big ammo racks in the back of the turret. So it is a 128mm gun, remember. The engine takes up most of the back of the lower of the hull, and there's a fuel tank behind it, as well as 2 fuel tanks either side, although they are rather small ones. Yeah, the fuel tanks are actually supposed to be contained inside the vehicle. You can see that right down in the base of the hull. But that's where Wargaming have put the modules. There's another set of fuel tanks along the sides of the hull. But remember, that's where the spaced armor is. So it's going to be difficult trying to punch around through that. I didn't actually show you the side armor with the collision model, just to give you an idea of how tough it is. But you can see there's the spaced armor there. Now, if you try and shoot through that to get at those ammo racks, which are around about here, you're looking at about 200mm of armor. So you should be able to pen with the heat rounds, but whether or not you'll be able to pen with the standard ordinary AP, yes, you probably can penetrate. It looks green, so I think you can pen, even though you're going through the skirts. The skirts do actually give some protection against heat rounds normally, and you can see there it's showing up as red at that angle, but if you turn it round, you can see it all turns green. So presumably, yes, you can't pen it when it's at a steep angle like that, but you can get through it when you're side onto the vehicle. Going back to the modules, I guess the best place to aim is, if you want to get a bang, is the rear of the turret. I wouldn't bother to go for these Amaraks there. I just go for the rear of the turret on this thing to try and knock it out. And of course, if I was firing directly at it and it's facing me and it was looking directly at me, I just go for that flat armor, which is exactly what Konopnik did, and it's exactly the right thing to do. You will take them out, either that or the lower plate. So I hope you enjoyed that replay. It was a real humdinger of a game, wasn't it? If you did enjoy it, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.